friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. It's time for my all-out media scrum review, because that's the only thing people are going to remember from this year's All Out, is when CM Punk got up on the media scrum thing and just went off on everybody, including the EVPs, Hangman Adam Page, Scott Colton, a.k.a. Colt Cabana, and seemingly everybody else there in AEW, as Tony Khan just watched on in horror. My God, what the hell just happened? Let's talk about it. So, last night at All Out, it was a really long show, 15 matches. I'll break down my thoughts on the matches as quickly as I can after we talk about this first part. But we had a couple big things happen. We had CM Punk regaining his AEW World title there in Chicago in front of a pretty admittedly split crowd. Lots of people chanting for Jon Moxley in a match that, I don't know. I'll talk about my thoughts on the match in a little bit. I feel like they probably creatively, I don't know, as they say, dropped the bollock there. MJF came back as sort of a mystery masked man at first, and then he was revealed at the end of the show to be MJF. We all kind of knew it was MJF in the first place. But it was, I don't know. It was, I'll be honest with you. It was a bloated show. 15 matches last year's All Out. It was like a really awesome show. It had 10 matches. This year, they just loaded it up even more so. I'm personally not a fan of that. A day earlier, we had a Clash at the Castle. I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on that tomorrow, just because this is like kind of a big deal here. There's some messed up stuff going on at AEW. Anyways, the show goes down. It's like a 5-hour deal, and then including the kickoff. And then we get the customary, the traditional now, AEW media scrum. Now, typically in these media scrums, Tony Khan will spend, I don't know, 3 or so hours hyping up his own company, hyping up the pay-per-view, et cetera, et cetera. This time was a little bit different. He seems to have a problem with WWE running a Clash of the Castle. He seems none too happy about that. At one point, he made the correlation between AEW now and Jim Crockett Promotions back when WWE used to run against them all the time. And Tony Khan defiantly says, I got a lot more fucking money than Jim Crockett. The problem is, he says this in defiance. This is after we've just seen him sort of sit there and do absolutely nothing as CM Punk runs down the men that Tony Khan built this company with, namely Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. So CM Punk started out this media scrum by saying this. He talked about Colt Cabana. Basically he just talks about like the lawsuit between him and Colt Cabana. He's upset that in his estimation, the Young Bucks and or Kenny Omega went to the media and blamed Punk's relationship with Colt Cabana as the reason why Colt Cabana's not with AEW anymore or has been relegated to Ring of Honor, when CM Punk claims that he had nothing to do with any of that stuff. Tony Khan has said the same thing in recent weeks, that CM Punk had nothing to do with Colt Cabana being moved over to Ring of Honor and hasn't been backstage at AEW, even though, according to Sean Ross Sapp and others, Colt Cabana is a popular guy there. So CM Punk took issue with that, and he was blasting Colt Cabana, bringing up the lawsuit between them and the fact that Colt shares an account with his mother, evidently, running him down for that. He was just getting into real gnarly details about their relationship, or I guess lack thereof. And he moved very quickly to be talking about the EVPs. He said this. He said, it's 2022. I haven't been friends with this guy since at least 2014, late 2013, which I think he probably means 2014, late 2015, or late, I don't know, because like they did the podcast together in late 2014. Anyways, he says, and the fact that I have to sit up here because we have irresponsible people who call themselves EVPs and couldn't fucking manage a target, which by the way is probably difficult, and they spread lies and bullshit and put into a media that I got somebody fired when I have fuck all to do with them, want nothing to do with them, etc., etc. The fact that I have to get up here and do this in 2022, it's fucking embarrassing, is what he says. He says, and if y'all are at fault, meaning the media, he says, fuck you. If not, I apologize. And then he pivots, oddly. He goes from talking about the EVPs, he says, but what did I ever do in this world to deserve an empty-headed fucking dumb fuck like Hangman Adam Page to go out on national television and fucking go into business for himself? Pause. So, During their feud, Hangman Adam Page, during one of his promos, said something along the lines of, I'm defending this title against, on behalf of AEW in their locker room. I'm paraphrasing. And apparently that's what set CM Punk off. He felt that that was an unnecessary part of their feud, even though the entire feud between him and Eddie Kingston was built around the idea that CM Punk is not well liked backstage. So I don't know why Hangman incorporating this into his promo would be such a big deal. Again, if CM Punk had a problem with this, you'd think that he would like talk to him backstage, which is what he expects people to do with him. So it's bizarre. It's kind of weird. Anyways, he says, if you're an EVP, you don't try to middle your top babyface. Try to get your niche audience that's on the internet to hate him for, he means himself, for some made up bullshit rumor. It pisses me off. You're stepping on your own dick. I'm trying to make money, sell tickets, fill arenas. And these stupid guys think they're in Reseda, which is famously where the Young Bucks used to wrestle in PWG for the longest time. He kind of tells on himself a little bit after this. He brings up what I feel is the real reason he's upset with Hangman Adam Page. Page had said in an interview that he doesn't really like to take advice from veterans. He likes to figure out himself. Now, that's kind of a normal thing, to be honest with you. A lot of people are either visual learners or they're just introverts. They don't like talking to people. Maybe he can absorb lessons a different way. Whatever situation may be, Hangman Adam Page is a terrific wrestler who has brought himself to the tippy top of the industry, at least as far as AEW is concerned. I'm sure if he went to WWE, the situation would be pretty similar. The guy knows what he's doing. I don't feel like he really needs to be asking advice from Terry Funk at this point, even though I'm sure Terry Funk could probably give him some pretty good advice. Punk says we have a locker room full of pretty brilliant minds. He says, our locker room, for all the wisdom and brilliance it has, isn't worth shit when you have an empty-headed idiot who's never done anything in the business, even though he was just AEW champion, do public interviews and say, I don't really take advice. Who the fuck do you think you are? You know, that's stupid. I'm on a team with Barry Bonds, Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and I don't need to work on my swing. I'm not going to listen to these guys going to tell me how to swing a baseball. Go fuck yourself. That's how I feel. I dare you to say that to Terry Funk's face. I don't need to listen to you, Mr. Funk. I know what I'm doing. And then it was later reported by the Wrestling Observer that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were none too happy about this, and some sort of physical altercation went down backstage. What they call a fight, a melee between some sort of combination of Ace Steel, CM Punk, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, which I could make a joke about Punk's UFC career here, but I'm not going to. I sort of just did backhandedly. Anyways, this is a mess because it really did just sort of overshadow the entire All Out show. And it overshadowed MJF's return, which is kind of apropos because MJF overshadowed Wardlow's big win. That was supposed to be a big crowning achievement because of his own backstage contract disputes. But whatever. I mean, that's just the way it goes, I guess. But yeah, AEW went from being kind of like this rah, we're all in this together thing to whatever this is now. Now, I don't know where this is going to go. I suspect at worst, and I hope it doesn't get to this point. At worst, obviously, Tony Khan will have to make the decision. Do I keep sticking with Punk and alienate seemingly virtually everybody else in his company? Or do I appease the elite and move Punk down the roster, or just release him on his merry way? Say, hey, I just got to eat this one. This is a loss. Here's a write-off. Do what Warner's did with the Batgirl movie. Here's a write-off. I'll just pay Punk his money and send him on his way. It didn't work out. I hope it doesn't get to that, and I hope everybody just sort of sits down and figures this out. I get the feeling the kind of personality Punk is, that might not be possible. According to these reports from either Sean Ross Sapp or the Wrestling Observer Dave Meltzer, they've also threatened the elite to walk out of the company. Ugh, wow. So I don't know how this is going to resolve itself. Clearly, they need some sort of at least mediation here because Tony Khan has lost control of this situation. We saw him lose control of this in real time. We watched him watch this happen. That's kind of nuts when you think about it. So he clearly needs to do something to regain some amount of control or at least get everybody back on the same page. Because this ain't going to persist. I don't know what more needs to be said about it. It's going to go one of two ways. Somebody's going to be gone, or they're all going to figure it out. And I know people are going to overreact to this and say, oh, AEW's in shambles. They still do terrific ratings. They still do terrific pay-per-view buys. They got a lot of stuff going for them. And I feel like this is just sort of chemistry stuff that needs to be worked out. It's like a lot that needs to be worked out, but it just needs to be worked out. And I feel like they will one way or another. I mean, the bottom line is Tony Khan has like ungodly amounts of money, so that'll kind of fix a lot of stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. It did overshadow a fairly bloated All Out show. It's kind of sad because I have noticed, anecdotally speaking, and I know we're all in our own echo chamber, that recently there has been sort of a shift away from the rah AEW is great to maybe not as great because of several sort of glaring issues with AEW. Number one, I harp on this all the time, their women's division. It seems like Tony Khan feels the women's division is an obligation he'd rather sort of not deal with. I mean, you get one women's segment per show. Sometimes you don't even get a match. There's a ton of those matches on Dark and Elevation, and I think he thinks it's all equal, but it's kind of not because one's on cable television and one is on the same platform as, I don't know. I could make some joke about YouTube here, but I'm drawing a blank. So it's on the same platform as WrestleJuice. I'll put it that way. So yeah, it was 15 matches is too much. All Out 2021 featured 10 matches in total. This year, 15. It's just too much. And they didn't really build many stories building into this pay-per-view. I know there's been injuries, but still, you've had Wardlow since he's won the TNT title, and you really haven't done much of anything with him. And you stick him in a match with FTR and Motor City Machine Guns and Jay Lethal, and it was actually a really fun match, and I loved the moment at the end when Dax's kid came out and pinned Sanjay Dutt, but I feel like Wardlow and the TNT title should be doing something bigger. This was the focus, was on FTR. I know Wardlow got the win with all those power bombs, but that was kind of just, I don't know. It was one of those things where it's like, well, he's not really doing anything with them. Just do his power bomb thing. Hopefully, the win Will Hobbs had over Ricky Starks will put him in contention for the TNT title against Wardlow. I think that could be a feud that could last maybe like 3 months or so, starting now till the next pay-per-view and maybe even past that. I'd love to see Wardlow pick up that TNT title. Kind of looks like Ricky Starks might be taking a break or be on his way outside the company. I don't know. It was a really quick match with him and Hobbs. Didn't really do much for Hobbs. It was a dominant win. I feel like there needed to be more story there. There needed to be a little bit more heat, as they say in the industry, where maybe after the match, Hobbs would have really like torn apart Ricky Starks and get everybody booing him and stuff. But that didn't really happen, so that was kind of weird. Beyond that, the match of the show clearly was Swerve in Our Glory versus The Acclaimed. This match was outstanding. It was one of my Match of the Year candidates. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. The crowd was into this big time, so much so that they turned on Lee and Swerve. I've never seen Keith Lee booed before. He was last night, and to see him handle that and sort of turn heel while still trying to tell the story of him and Swerve not being on the same page, I thought was a really interesting lesson in pro wrestling. Interesting they didn't call the audible and just have The Acclaimed win, because that would have blown the roof off the place. Several people who were there have told us over at Going In Raw that the place did seem deflated after that. Maybe that's the reason why after that the match is just sort of with the crowd seemed a little to fall flat a little bit. But yeah, no, that was a lot right there. Beyond that match, which was absolutely terrific, a lot of sort of mid-level stuff. I thought the Elite versus the Dark Order was good because the finish was so solid, and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page have really, really good chemistry. Hangman Page accidentally hit his buckshot lariat on John Silver and then was not really crying, but he was agonizing over it at the end. I thought that was really good. I thought the women's match probably could have used a little bit more of heat between Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, a little bit more conflict between those two. Introduce that they're not on the same page because they're both vying for the same title a little earlier in the match, and that could really build. I think they went to that well a little late in the match. Good to see Tony Storm pick up that title. Jericho versus Danielson was fine. I'd rather see Danielson in matches against like real legit technical wrestlers as opposed to Jericho, who is fine as a technical wrestler, but it's not really his thing. And I know that's the point. He had to cheat to win. But other than that, the match was what it was. It was fine. It was kind of like a Dynamite main event match. Jungle Boy versus Christian was just a story beat. Luchasaurus turned on Jungle Boy. He's in fact still in the pocket of Christian. Apparently Christian's dealing with some sort of injury. That's according to, I saw that on Wrestling Observer. Noted that. The casino ladder match featured a bunch of cool stuff, and then the lights went down and MJF's crew came out and took the chip for him, which kind of undermined the idea of the match. But I think like the whole MJF under a mask thing was like a cool idea that needed a little bit more in the way of theatrics, cool lights, fog machines and stuff, because he just kind of looked kind of cheesy in that mask. He looked like the guy from the Wrestling Secrets Exposed show back in the day. As soon as I saw it, I thought that. And of course, people just started memeing that all over Twitter. I thought it was pretty funny. And then we had Jon Moxley versus CM Punk in the main event, which I thought that it was a bit fan servicey for CM Punk, given that like he's coming off a major foot injury and he didn't like sell that at all. It was just like Punk coming in. It felt kind of masturbatory for CM Punk, to be honest with you. Moxley has been an absolute juggernaut. CM Punk should be coming as the beat up over the hill underdog, and he gets a scrappy beat up over the hill underdog win against Mox. And that's not what this was. It was, I can go toe to toe with you, even though you've been like unbeatable. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was not. I thought like in terms of the meat of the match, them beating each other up, I thought it was good stuff. But I thought the overall story just was probably one of the reasons why the crowd was chanting Mox half the time. And then the reaction of Punk actually winning. When they went to that long shot, it wasn't like everybody was just up out of their seats, like just completely losing their shit. It just felt like they knew it was going to happen. They didn't really give us the idea that Punk was ever going to lose this match. And when you're going up against Moxley, we need to get that idea. And they didn't go there. That's why I just sort of don't rate this match as all that great. In the kickoff show, we had, and then we had House of Black versus Miro, Darby, and Sting. Evidently, Malachi Black might be taking either a leave from the company or he's getting his release. I don't know what it is, but Miro, Darby, and Sting got the win here with Darby pinning Malachi Black. So yeah, I don't know what the deal with that is. Afterwards, Malachi Black blew a kiss to the audience and took in an ovation and sort of seemingly said some sort of goodbye. The kickoff show, the main attraction there was probably Ishii versus Kingston. They just did their best impression of the Sheamus Gunther match from Clash of the Castle, just chopping the shit out of each other left and right. So that was kind of cool. I'm a big Eddie Kingston fan. I wanted to see him on the main card, but I know he had that problem with Sammy Guevara. Anyways, and then Hook beat what's his face, Cool Hand Ange pretty quickly. Pac beat Kip Sabian, not a surprise there. And then Ty and Sammy beat Ruby Soho and Ortiz, not a big surprise there. Ruby Soho might have broken her nose. That sucks. Anyways, that's going to do it for my All Out 2022 review. What a weird show. What a weird media scrum. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please don't do the thing where you're like, oh, it's all just a big work, because it's just you're telling on yourself when you do that. Go check out this other video there. I'll see you over there. Hit that subscribe button, that little notify bell, and hey, give this video a thumbs up if you want to be nice today. You want your good karma for the day. We'll see you at that video.